As we adapt to living and working while the pandemic continues, the question becomes about legacy. Will COVID-19 leave a significant lasting legacy on the design of our working environments, or will it simply be a case of reigniting temporary measures whenever needed? We're asking architects and designers for their opinion on COVID-19's long-term impact on the design of commercial interiors. We're here today with Ian Mitchell, who's a design director at Oktra, a leading fit-out company specialising in the office interior. So thank you for joining us, Ian. Great to see you today.
Thanks for having me along, Tom. Good to do this interview.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you a series of questions that will hopefully show us your insight on, I guess, designing for a COVID-19 future, I guess.
Yeah.
Or at least a post-COVID-19 future, I should say, perhaps.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, optimistically.
Can you tell us about your work and some of the recent projects you've been involved in?
Yeah, so here at Oktra, we design and we build office interiors. So we get involved with the whole experience, life cycle of a fit-out project for clients. And the significance of that is you have a real sort of you are really immersed in the client's recent experiences with the pandemic and how it's affecting their workplace, rather than just being involved with the design bit at the front or just building a job. The fact we're doing both elements, you really feel a responsibility to hold the client's hand and understand how they can get through this. And we are seeing a lot of that at the moment. Understandably, almost every project has an element or some impact has been affected, by COVID, of all manner of levels, which we can obviously come on to. So we are seeing it all the time. Many examples we can give of addressing it, shall we say.
Right. Well, that leads us perfectly, I guess, onto our first question, which is, have you experienced a demand from clients for leadership on adapting spaces for COVID-19?
Definitely. That question was very popular sort of, April, May, June, when things were kicking off and there was almost the unknown of the pandemic as it was spiraling, and businesses were thinking, well, how do we go to work? How do we make our offices safe? What does it look like? Can you help me? They were asking us for the answers as a business, and we were forming the answers based on government guidance, producing what we were calling COVID plans, and which were basically modifying existing floor plans of offices to factor in 2-meter spacing, which was, in a crude sense, drawing 2-meter circles around desk or work areas, and doing a drawing to indicate where people can sit. And what would happen was you'd do these plans and clients would be shocked at how few staff they could actually accommodate.
Yeah.
And that's continued to this day, to the point where a lot of us are just at home, of course. So
yeah. Okay, so I guess that raises the issue then of kind of the long-term feasibility of their space. Are clients approaching you with worries about that now their spaces have been adapted?
I think it's a mixed one, that. And there's two sort of sides to it. The first side is clients could think, right, everyone's going to want to work from home now. Why do I need all this space? I can get rid of half of it. I can get sublet a floor or whatever. But then it could be short-sighted, because with social distancing, you actually, ironically, need that space to spread people out, to fit more people in a safe way. By just halving your real estate portfolio, shall we say, you could end up doing further sort of longer term damage if things like this happen more frequently. You need the space to spread out more, and I think clients, or tenants rather, should be cautious about just getting rid of space too hastily.
Okay, and then so are they concerned then with how to adapt their spaces in the long term? So beyond the adoption of kind of stick-on vinyl graphics and perspex screens that we've literally seen everywhere, and are they looking at a more fundamental approach to their space?
Yeah, that's they are doing that, and we're guiding them through that. And what that looks like is furniture dedicated to more I say collaborative working, but where you can position things in corners, which, you know, maybe it's a 4-person booth, but one person would be using it in a safe, obviously in a safe sort of way. And, you know, when we're space planning desking, we're not necessarily racking it full of racking it full of desks. Like ordinarily you try and fit 100 in a space. Now it's, say, it might be 20 desks in the same space, because you're designing an office in an agile way to accommodate maybe 100 people in 20 fixed desks, 15 what we call agile settings, which can be a high booth, it can be a wooden table with some dining chairs around it in a cool place, it can be lots of different things, to prevent people having to sit next to each other every day of the week. They can move and be more physically agile to avoid interaction when sitting with someone, if that makes sense.
Which I guess is quite a strange dynamic in the workplace. It's kind of, I guess, fundamentally built around interaction and people coming together and collaborating. Now, COVID is kind of asking them to separate, I guess, and not collaborate. Does that reshape our attitude to what we see as a good working environment? Do we now consider a space where we can separate ourselves more important than a space where we can come together and collaborate and be a team?
Yeah, that's an interesting kind of concept, almost conflicting sort of behaviours there, really, isn't there? Because yes, on the one hand, you want to come to work, sit on your own, be safe, but equally the reason you're coming into the office is because you need to interact with other people for whatever reason, a stand-up meeting, whatever it might be. And those behaviours, I don't think are going to go away. I really don't. And what it does, it's actually proving that the trends of office design, which we were adopting anyway, are even more important now. By that I mean these agile spaces. So when you want to do your job or do some work, you don't rely on just sitting on desking next to another person. The ability to be spaced out is key. Will that affect how people collaborate? I don't think so, because I think because we're all in it together. It's not departmental, this sort of behaviour, or industry specific. I think it's actually across the board. And we're all in understanding of that, which has helped us all kind of digest this change.
I've seen articles myself that talk about kind of maybe this is going to be the map to a future where we see kind of more segregated and individual spaces for people to work in. So you would disagree with that, I guess?
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, Tom, just 2 secs. I got distracted because of a noise. Sorry.
But this is the danger of mobile working, right? And emails pinging and.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is a good place to just make a comment on about Teams. You know,
yeah.
This is a great example. We're using Teams. It saves you a trip to London. It keeps you safe. It saves you money, and all those things, right? But Teams has got issues of, you know, connectivity with the internet or acoustics, and all these things we'll now have to apply as designers, making sure there's sufficient acoustics, make sure there's sufficient Wi-Fi ports. All these things are even more important we address as we need to do in our own space.
I guess it's progressed us forward, as they say in what we've seen with online retail. You know, we've seen a huge, perhaps 3-year shift in the space of 6 months. Do you think that's true of office design as well? We've just seen a real acceleration.
Yeah,
in a natural direction, in a direction which designs were heading anyway.
Yeah, this might sound a very bad comparison, but you know, the vaccine for COVID has taken what, 6 months or whatever it is, and a drug like that normally takes 10 years. But we've made it happen because it was absolutely do or die. It was critical, life critical. So we made it happen. And likewise, not quite likewise, but with the applying that sort of logic to the office design thing, we're like, we have to adapt to this. There's no will high back sofas take off? Will they get used? Like, no, we have to adapt the workplace now to keep businesses, to keep industry running. How can we make offices safe and usable still? So it's no wonder we've jumped to it to make it happen, to make it work, and it's here to stay. I would definitely say so.
Okay, great. How important are the selection of materials going to be? Do you think we're going to see kind of a new wave of antibacterial finishes? I've seen a lot of talk in the press about copper and these kind of materials.
Yeah.
Or is it really simply about just making sanitization more readily available to people as they're entering a room, or the main reception? Or
yeah, that's a trend. Again, another trend I can't see diminishing anytime soon. I think it's also something we're doing a lot of. Clients, if they're not asking for it, we're recommending it. And such measures, as you say, are like, sanitation points, mobile. We've got a couple here actually, mobile sinks, which a foot operated pump with a water tank, and it circulates water. So we've got one near the door for visitors. Mobile hand wash points, hand sanitization, just availability of PPE. So we've got a face mask store as well. All those sort of general kind of hygiene things we're doing on the one hand, and equally materials and surfaces. It's very, very important that we have that option for clients should they want it. So yeah, like one thing we've been doing recently is specifying touch taps, and some clients have just asked us to swap out their existing normal taps for touch taps to minimize staff having to touch surfaces. And on the same note, actually, we're doing obviously, when a lot of businesses have access control, security passes to get in a door, and you can have those so they've got automatic openers on them. We're doing that, retrofitting those sort of things, which it's an expense on top of a fit out project.
Okay, great. So that, I guess, that idea of the clients looking for this kind of these human touch points. Do you think COVID has taught them something about office design then, and about a kind of human-centric approach to office, or for them is it still really about headcount and that just being more limited for them now?
Yeah, I think it's definitely made all businesses realise the place the office plays in society, in the working world, and it means that they need to adapt that office, or adapt the office, to be more than just a place for a desk and a computer. It's actually got to be a safe destiny away from home, where you need to undertake tasks with other people or in person. It's also a place for socializing, and which is obviously trickier when social distance is involved. But it starts to expose members of staff in any business who are struggling working from home, be it internet reasons, social reasons. They don't have a place to work at home, nowhere they can concentrate. And all these little factors come out of the woodwork when you talk to your colleagues, which starts to actually answer the question of, well, what do you need an office for? And it's those things. And we have it here, lots of the young guys say, they maybe they live in a flat share, maybe with people they don't know that well. They actually want to come to the office. They want to spend time here. beyond just coming here because they've got to sit at a desk all day. And actually, by doing so, it actually makes them feel valued. It makes them learn more, that, you know, in terms of training, in terms of learning from others, mentoring. Yeah, how is a young, let's say, graduate going to get on in life, learn from other people by sitting at their parents' dining room table, for example? And I think we need to be able to encourage that kind of collaboration without forcing staff to do that, of course.
Yeah. So I guess there's a certain amount of people in the position of senior management who have been behind kind of home working. Maybe they've come from an angle of they have a comfortable home working environment. They maybe have a separate office, and so to them it's kind of easy thing to do. But a huge proportion of the working population that don't have that luxury.
Exactly right. And that exact example is a perfect illustration of, you know, you've got to think, okay, we might be all right working at home in you know, in our study or whatever it is, spare room, but not most people are not like that, and so we have to listen to those voices and pretty much ask them, what do you need, what do you want, what would make you feel comfortable to do your job, because, you know, those guys, those people, those staff members are going to be your senior guys soon, one day. You know, we've got to look after them. We've got to make sure that we keep them happy now. They can progress and do their job well, and they're not just going to sit at home and get ill, get unhappy, mental health issues, and all those sorts of things. We have to be mindful of, and I certainly think Oktra are addressing that well, because, you know, we've got a lovely office here. Our staff want to come in, they want to spend time here, and the door is always open, so to speak. I should just make a point though, just a serious point. You know, I say the door is always open. I need to just make the point by we're a construction company. We are allowed to be working.
Yes.
If our jobs require it and we can't work from home.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm here today because I have to be in London to do what I need to do, which I cannot do at home, like the people here at the moment.
Yeah, good point, well made, Ian, I think. So, I guess the final question before I let you get on with your day, and thanks very much for the time you've spent with us, is what is the biggest single thing, this is one of those typical questions, the pandemic has taught you about the design of workspaces?
Okay, my answer to that, yeah, we touched on it a little bit just then, but it reassures me that the office is not just a place to work. It is a place for many behaviours and many activities, and it's almost got to have so many more elements of a home environment in terms of finishes, wall finish, floor finishes, all these things that you go in there and you feel comfortable just spending time there to do a job you have to do. And that concept actually, I find, makes my job easier, because it relaxes you. You're designing a space that isn't always corporate and serious and, you know, it's kind of a big thing. It's actually a much more friendlier space. The office is a friendlier concept more than it's ever been. And COVID has basically, you know, reminded me or kind of confirmed to me that the office has far more to it than maybe we think, the importance it brings to people.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for your time, Ian. Hugely appreciated from us here at
Not at all.
Commercial.
That's not at all. It's obviously an important topic, full stop. But it's actually, you know, a very important topic to me. It's the job I do. My job has changed quite a lot in, you know, this year. It's opened my eyes, all of our eyes, to a lot of sort of a shift in how we sort of do things. And we have to, Oktra, certainly, we want to be pioneering the response to COVID in the workplace, and how the workplace will change as the pandemic hopefully diminishes.
Thank you very much.
All right, Tom, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.